story of Elian Gonzalez 25 years ago sort of has some echoes today with all the discussion of immigration. That, of course, was a custody battle, which makes it a little more complicated. But right now we want to focus on the story of Gilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. As you know, he's the man from Maryland who was sent to El Salvador. The Supreme Court said to the administration and to the lower courts, you need to facilitate and effectuate the return of this individual to the United States. So where do we stand, and what are the issues, and how is this playing out? Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch is an immigration attorney, owner-CEO of Lincoln-Goldfinch Law in Austin, Texas, and joins us now. Kate, welcome. Thank you for being on POTUS today.
Good morning.
I was re-examining the decision by the United States Supreme Court, unanimous, which, as I mentioned, that the court largely affirmed a lower court order saying that Judge Paul Azinas' directed that the government facilitate and effectuate the return of Abrego Garcia to the United States by no later than 11:59 p.m. Monday, April 7th, 2025, should be clarified. But it also voiced support for that. Yet the administration has played this out as a win for them and continues to argue against and actually, it seems, resist the attempts to return Mr. Garcia to the United States. Where are we legally right now?
Well, that's exactly right. So the Supreme Court, in a relatively clear decision, ordered the facilitation of his return. And the press conference with Bukele and Trump after that sort of sparked this national outrage about the lack of action for this man. Now we're back down before Judge Azinas to review the facilitation and whether actions have been taken. She set what's an expedited discovery timeline where we're in the middle of that. And, for example, tomorrow, depositions of senior ICE officials can begin to occur. The Trump administration appealed that expedited removal order to the Fourth Circuit, and Judge Wilkinson, who's a Republican appointee, issued a really blistering decision about the behavior of the Trump administration. So the appeal of the expedited discovery has been blocked, and that could go to the Supreme Court, but we're back down in Judge Azinas' court right now.
It seems to me that a lot of the protestations from the administration have included the characterization of Mr. Garcia as either not a U.S. citizen or he is a member of a gang, and whether or not he was actually protected from any kind of deportation in the United States. I'm not a lawyer, but it does seem to me that those arguments are kind of irrelevant in the sense of what the Supreme Court has said, which is facilitate his removal. I mean, maybe they are effective politically, but I'm not sure. Do they have any legal value whatsoever?
Not in the matter of whether he is returned. That's a great point. The question of whether he is deportable based on gang activity, et cetera, remains to be seen. And I think a lot of the evidence that the Trump administration, I say evidence in quotations, that they put forth about gang membership has been debunked. But I will also say one of the things that a lot of people may not understand is that Gilmar got withholding of removal, which is a protection a lot like asylum. I'm an immigration lawyer. I do these cases in court, and you have to do quite a bit to win withholding. You have to go before a judge, be subjected to cross-examination, bring evidence, maybe an expert witness to support your case. These are hard cases to win. And the fact that he won withholding before an immigration, which is an order protecting him specifically from deportation to El Salvador, really says something about the evidence that was before the court demonstrating that he was fleeing the very gangs that they're now claiming he was a part of. So a lot of the, evidence and the commentary by the Trump administration just don't ring as true whatsoever. But to your point, they're also irrelevant in the question as to whether he should be brought back.
How long does that withholding of removal last, the power of it, number one? Number two, if it's to remove him to El Salvador, could he be removed to another country?
It's a lifetime protection from removal to El Salvador. It doesn't permanent, but it does mean he could theoretically be removed to a third country. Typically, people who win withholding do not end up getting removed to a third country because most other separate countries are not, interested and offer to receive people who have received withholding removal. So generally, my clients who have withholding, stay in the United States for life. But theoretically, or I suppose legally, he could be removed to a third country if that third country offers to receive him. But removed to a third country is very different than sent into a prison in a third country indefinitely with no due process. Those are two very different things, of course.
Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch with us, immigration attorney. I wanted to ask you, I know that personally you got very involved in this very young, and you started practicing many years ago, in part moved by being asked by, I guess, an immigrant or a woman who was in this country illegally. She asked you to hold her baby because there was something about the way you smelled. I don't know if it was you smelled like America or smelled like freedom. But I get your personal attachment to a lot of this, and I'm wondering if, given your history of working in this field, how things have changed in the courts and maybe the court of public opinion about how we deal with illegal entry to this country and how we deal with those who might be taken out of the country. Give us the immigration world. What is the sense of it right now?
Yeah. I've been in this field for 20 years as an immigration lawyer in Texas, and I've worked through a lot of, administrations at this point. And I've seen family detention and the separation of kids and unaccompanied migrant kids. And there's always been injustice to battle throughout those years. What has really shifted, since the first Trump administration, is the public conversation around immigrants. And one of the things Trump has been successful in doing is convincing a majority or many Americans that we are suffering an invasion and that immigrant equals bad and dangerous. And this is we've seen this before during times of anti-immigrant rhetoric aimed at Irish Catholics in the 1700s and Chinese workers in the 1800s and Italian laborers. I mean, a lot of this similar rhetoric has occurred in the past, and we're definitely in another point of history where the anti-immigrant rhetoric is fierce. And I think what needs to occur is those of us who recognize that this is a country of immigrants and that immigration makes us strong need to be elevating our voices because, the conversation has gotten really loud on the other side. And I think some of what's happening with cases like Kilmar's and some of these other Venezuelan migrants is people are starting to realize and pay attention again to the cause of immigration. And the fact that it's a debate, once again, I think is actually a good thing for the overall conversation.
Is it your sense that the political climate, if you will, has actually seeped into the courts? The judges are changing the way they deal with things, or has that been pretty consistent over the years?
Oh, the judiciary is definitely towing the line. We've never seen anything like this before in our history. And so that, seeing a 9-0 decision from the Supreme Court, or just last week in the middle of the night, extremely rare and unprecedented middle of the night block on another group of Venezuelans being deported, it sort of just gives you chills when you see how the judiciary is responding. This is very rare, and it does appear that they are heeding the call because the checks and balances of our democracy are at risk right now, and the judiciary is really protecting all of the United States at this moment. And so I really hope to see that the Trump administration doesn't just outright defy court orders. The clearer the judiciary becomes, the more the Trump administration steps in line, as opposed to the opposite, because that would really be a scary moment if they just outright defy a court order.
Kate Lincoln-Goldfinch, thank you for joining us on POTUS. I appreciate your insight.
Thanks for having me on.
Kate Goldfinch, Lincoln-Goldfinch, immigration attorney, owner, CEO of Lincoln-Goldfinch Law in Austin, Texas. As she says, 20 years of covering immigration.